The question you've all been waiting for. Dun, 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 dun. Am I still celibate? Now, these videos can get very personal, but I am dedicated to being vulnerable to you guys, being honest as much as I can. And I thought I'd make an update on my celibacy journey and how it's going. Some of you guys may be surprised, some of you guys may be disappointed, but to each his own. I am going to state my answer and what I'm going through, what I was going through at the time that I made my decision, what's going on now, and where I'm heading. Maybe some of you guys just need to hear this. Maybe it helps you make your own decisions in your life. But this is kind of like my update of how I feel about celibacy. Alright, so for those of you who know, what made me go celibate in the first place, a while back, I was in a relationship that was on and off for 4 years. Me and this guy basically got together. We didn't really know each other. We started dating, calling each other boyfriend and girlfriend right off the bat. Then shortly after living for a year up in like Indiana, coming back home, we moved in together, still not really knowing each other. And we just quickly moved in together, and from there it got abusive. And from there, I was doing a lot of nude modeling that felt very liberating to me. And at the time I was dating him, he knew I was doing that modeling. He wasn't really for it. So at that time, I was going through a lot as far as like trying to figure out my sexuality and owning it. Like I felt at that time I was really owning my sexuality. This is actually a lot that I haven't touched on, so this video may be kind of long. So when I was with him, it started getting very abusive, but I was modeling on and off here like nude lingerie. For me, it made me really happy. I was like, look, you know, I'm being honest with you. You can come to all my photo shoots if you want. But this is what I like to do. But not long after, I would get, like bad comments from him, and, thoughts from my family started creeping in. From the internet as well. A bunch of shame started flooding in for something that I really love to do. And I noticed that my sex drive was really high. It was pretty high. Like when I was with him, all I wanted was really to, have a lot of sex. That was another thing. It was just a relationship based mostly on sex. And before him though, I had a series of the first relationship I had from losing my virginity was with a guy. I wasn't really ready to lose it, but being young, and the guy told me he loved me, I ended up giving myself to him like that. And he ended up hurting me in the entirely wrong way. Basically, he just stopped talking to me altogether. And from then on, I started to use sex as like a tool for to be wanted, to feel love, to fill in that blank of love. Started being very promiscuous, things of that nature. And I'm openly expressing this because this is very common, more than people like to think. It's not this woo-woo thing, or, oh, shame on you. We're all human. We all are born in the flesh. We are challenged every day with these, outside things and we all go through cycles. So this was a cycle I was in. I was, trying to find love through sex, and oddly enough, me and this guy got together. I feel like we were pretty much the same. We didn't really know what love was. Ended up moving in together and things of that nature. So I was modeling. I was very open about my sexuality. I actually like sex a lot, but it came to a point where when it got very abusive, I was going through so much, and all we had left that I could hold on to him was the sex. And I even got to a point where I never expressed this, but I had to get an abortion by him. So by this point, I really was falling into deep hatred with myself and my body. And altogether, slowly but surely, I realized now that I started covering up. I stopped doing the modeling, start feeling guilty for loving what I did. Then what else happened? I have to dig deep into my mind. When I cut this person off, because I was getting a lot of spiritual guidance and help at this time, like from psychics, from everyone around me, this is no good for you, whatever. So one day I finally cut this person off, and at the same time I noticed that sex was a big deal. Like I was really using that too much. Like, I don't know, using that, I guess it was clouding my judgment at the time. So when I cut him off, that got cut off too. So after him, there was nobody else for a long time, for about 2 years. Um, and during that time, I just remember getting guidance in my mind, and I feel like from my angels, like uh, how did it come about? It was like, consider celibacy. And I was like, what the fuck? I never, thought of doing this. But at the time, it was so easy for me because I was like, I'm just done with men. I'm done with, going through so much heartache and loss and despair. And I was just like, let me just try something new. So I ended up being celibate for a while. And later on, I ended up finding out that I had a lot of issues around sexual abuse anyways because of like family history, of like rape, incest, things of that nature, which I don't really touch on either, but I'm trying to be more open. And again, people might feel uncomfortable with this topic. I'm very sorry. But I have to be open to my truth from now on. So, so the answer to your question, am I still celibate? No, not at this time. But I am gearing back. I feel like I'm getting guidance once again to consider it. Because what happened is the reason why I stopped being celibate, and this was just recently, like a few months ago. I started feeling very, very miserable around my spiritual practices. I was no longer happy with them. I started questioning myself, like, why am I doing this in the first place? It doesn't make me happy. And I started to understand that my old beliefs were outdated. I even started using celibacy to kind of like cover up. I became such a prude, meaning anything to do with the human body, I kind of shunned it. Anything to do with sex, I kind of shunned it. Anything to do with my sexuality, I locked it up. And that became very destructive. To me, in my mind, that's very destructive. It's one thing to be celibate, but to deny your whole sexuality, deny you have urges, deny you have that you can flirt, to deny, to make up this saint persona was very dangerous to me. And I've come to understand that. And it came to my understanding that the only point I was staying celibate at this point in time in my life, after being celibate for 2 years, I was blessed about that. It gave me a chance to grow in myself, to learn, to expand, to learn about myself. But it came to a point where I felt very miserable. And then I actually started getting signs like, you're being such a prude for my guys, you just need a one night stand. And it very well could have been a test, but I very well felt like, you know what, like, don't push me, like, I really feel miserable in this practice now. So in that, I feel like I was only staying celibate because of my family and like what they had to say about me. They would always say, "Oh, you found Jesus, don't give your body away." And I just kept feeling like, "Oh, this is my thoughts, this is my body, this is to my understanding, I can do what the fuck I want." So it ended up being a thing where I distanced myself from the thoughts of them, and then considered more what I wanted. Of course, I knew that I didn't want it from just anyone. I wanted to be kind of like a friend with benefit situation. So someone I knew or could trust. So then I ended up doing that, and it didn't go so well the first time. I was like, what the person that I was with was very platonic. But I ended up finding someone I can trust, and for a while now, it's been like an on thing. But as my thoughts go on now, I'm kind of feeling like, okay, I know I have a soulmate out there. So what am I really doing? It felt good to rebel for a moment. And then now I feel like, okay, now I have to get back, on my grind. I have to get back, stay focused. You understand you have a soulmate, right? Like, I feel like my guys are kept saying that. Like, even when I'm with this person, sometimes, you have a soulmate. And I start feeling guilty a little bit. And even I remember asking a psychic friend of mine, if I'm not celibate, would I still get my soulmate? I don't think she even answered it. I don't think there was an answer for that. But I don't think anything can really stop you or hinder you unless you settle, for less to reach your soulmate. But I don't think it really can. Anything can really stop you from meeting them. But still, then again, I still find myself questioning, because I noticed that when I started in having sex again, it does we okay, for an example, friend with benefit example, um in the beginning it starts off like, no strings attached, we're not going to get involved. But if you like the person, you end up getting emotionally involved. And then if you're not on the same page, one or both of you can get hurt. And that's something that I'm understanding. So if it's kind of like, if you're not intending to stay with the person or work things out, or you guys aren't on this similar path of conversation, um, it's really hard to kind of like, you start thinking, well, I share my body with you, I'm trying to share my mind, my thoughts with you, but we're not really compatible. So you start wondering, like, okay, like, what's the deal? But it's kind of like, before you went into this, what the deal was. But all your feelings, you can't always control your feelings. Maybe you want more. And then there's this is when the bad shit comes in. You just confused, and becomes complicated. So I feel like it gets to that point, or with me, it seems like that at this point in time in my life. I'm just being vulnerable and honest right now. And I noticed that even when I'm not really hanging out with this person, I can go. I can, like, since being celibate for so many years, I can easily go back to that. I can do without sex mode all the time. Like, and I noticed that in entering sex again, my libido is not as high at all. I can easily just shut that side of me off, which is not necessarily good, because I'm all for owning your sexuality, embracing that, making whatever makes you feel sexy, things of that nature. So therefore, for example, even if you're celibate, for me, I still encourage masturbating, because I feel like you shouldn't cut off that side completely, but it's to each his own, But today I'm starting to think, well, could I have gone longer doing that and just have, like, masturbated more, things of that nature? But I feel we all go through cycles in certain things for a reason. Like, nothing is a coincidence. And things are here, things and people and places and situations are here to help you learn certain lessons. So obviously the reason why I stopped being celibate was for a reason, and the reason why I'm going through this process right now is for a reason, to show me something. Maybe before I thought I was doing it for a certain reason, but now if I go back into being celibate, it's for a whole nother reason that's more solid. Or maybe it's just really to show me that, okay, if this doesn't work out, then you truly do have a soulmate. So are you willing to wait this time for them? Examples like that. But yeah, that is my journey so far, you guys. I hope you understand that. If you have any questions on being celibate, I'm greatly I will answer them honestly. But at this time, I feel like I have I'm very goal oriented, so I can see where being, even in a friends with benefit, can keep you off track, because a lot of sex can overrule your mind sometimes, where it keeps you from your goals and accomplishing your dreams, or it can just prolong it or hold you back. And it's not saying that you can't have a good time or do what you want, but it's like a balance. Like me, I know I'm very goal oriented. It's going to take a lot of time and energy for what I have to do. So the time I need to put in my channel, for example, the time I need to pursue my career and my dreams, to travel, the time I need to skateboard, to do my hobbies, things like that. And when you're kind of like committed to someone, even with your body, it's kind of going to take away from that. And I feel like unless you're with your soulmate, or you're someone you're going to be with who lifts you up and can kind of help you do both, then it's like you're kind of in a situation. But I don't know, I feel like it's for you to decide, really. Before, I was just so set on, oh, I'm gonna be, celibate, and I was so prideful. I was like, I'm celibate, no one can tell me shit, this is who I am. I guess I had, sex again because it was becoming an ego thing. Like, I was so easily open about it, because like, yeah, no one can call me a hoe, knowing I'm better than these thoughts. Which now I'm realizing, like, shit, people can do whatever the fuck they want. They can be strippers, they can be porn stars, they can be whatever, and fuck the haters. But for me, it was more of a thing like, I had to take my power back, because it was becoming such an egoic thing, and not realizing that I had a bunch of underlying things that I felt like were influencing my decision too, as far as like rape, sexual abuse. All these things kind of made me turn to that as well. But a lot of what it was affected during that period of time was my sacral chakra, which I totally cut off. It's kind of like, I just cut the, and feminine energy is very much needed at this time. So I felt like I was basically doing the universe and the world the treating the world bad, because I wasn't letting my feminine energy rise. And I guess in a sense I felt like I was taking my power back. But in reality, I'm still on a journey to figure out, okay, what is owning my sexuality mean to me? What do I like? What do I want to get out of this? Does this feel good to me? And really, it's like you're going to go different paths if you give your chance yourself to take risks, to figure out, okay, this is how I really feel. If I decide to be celibate again, maybe it'll be a stronger thing. Maybe I'll stand in that. And if I don't, then I don't. But the point is, you get to decide, like I said, do what feels right to you. And maybe I'll make another updated video on this. Yeah, I just wanted to be honest with you guys and open. By no means did I go on a spree of just having, again, I told you I felt like I had to pick someone I can trust or who I already knew. But even so, it's your body, it's your choice. So I'm very much on that feminine shit. Even like, shout out to Amber Rose and her slut walking. I really want to intend that, because I do feel like there is a double standard in this society where men get to flaunt their stuff and be openly sexual and women don't. And that was another reason that influenced my decision. I understand that society is very sex based, but I do also understand that women are over sexualized, and we are kind of like beat down to hide our sexuality. And I was very much becoming a prude, believing all these lies, and I just wanted to figure things out for myself, which everyone should do. But right now I'm undecided. Right now, okay, if I'm going to go back or not, we'll see in another episode of Dragon Ball Z. Alright, you guys, that's a little update. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Peace.